I'm not the type of guy who wakes up on Father's Day expecting a parade, but I figured I'd at least get something better than becoming the punchline to a joke I didn't see coming. That Sunday morning in June started like any other in our house in Riverside Falls. The sun was streaming through the kitchen windows, and I shuffled downstairs in my old pajama pants, thinking maybe today would be different. Maybe today I'd actually feel like part of the family, instead of just the guy who pays the mortgage and fixes things when they break. My wife Rachel was already in the kitchen with her favorite coffee mug, the one that says Boss Lady, like it's the most empowering thing in the world. Her daughter Madison was perched on the counter looking smug, and my stepson Noah was hovering near the doorway with his phone out. He had this look on his face like he was trying really hard not to laugh about something. I figured they were watching some funny video or something. "Happy Father's Day, Caleb!" Rachel practically sang it, holding out this beautifully wrapped gift box with a huge grin on her face. The kind of grin that should have been a warning sign. "Open it! Open it!" Madison was bouncing excitedly, her phone also out now, because apparently this moment needed to be documented. I took the box because what else was I supposed to do? I opened it, peeling back the tissue paper, and inside was a black t-shirt folded neatly. For a split second, I thought maybe it would say something normal. World's best stepdad would have been fine. Even world's okay father figure would have gotten a genuine laugh from me. But what it actually said in big, bold white letters was, "World's most replaceable dad." I just stood there holding this shirt like it was evidence in a crime scene, waiting for someone to say, "Just kidding, here's your real gift." But that moment never came. Instead, they started laughing. Not little giggles, but full-on doubled-over, can't-breathe laughter. Rachel was wiping tears from her eyes. Madison was slapping the counter. Noah looked slightly uncomfortable, but was still filming every second of my humiliation. "Oh my God, your face!" Rachel managed to gasp between laughs. "I told you he'd be shocked. It's hilarious, right?" Put it on," Madison added, like she was waiting for me to confirm that, yes, this was peak comedy. My face tried to decide between crying and rage-quitting life, but instead, it settled on something worse. A smile. A big fake smile that made my face hurt, because that's what I always did in this house. I smiled, went along with it, played the good sport. "Thanks," I said, even throwing in a little laugh. "I've always wanted my self-worth in cotton form. Really, this is perfect." That made them laugh even harder, because of course it did. Rachel came over and patted my shoulder like I was a dog who just learned a trick. "See? I knew you'd get it. You always have such a good sense of humor about things." "Yeah, a good sense of humor. That's what we're calling slowly dying inside while maintaining a socially acceptable facade." "Try it on," Madison insisted, phone still recording. So I did. I put on that shirt right there in the kitchen, and they took photos. Lots of photos. Rachel posted one immediately to Facebook with the caption, "My husband's sense of humor is the best. Happy Father's Day to my favorite replaceable dad." Dad jokes. Gustav's family fun. I set the gift box down carefully and noticed breakfast was already laid out. Pancakes, bacon, eggs, except none of it was for me. They'd already eaten. The dishes were piled in the sink, crusty with syrup and egg residue. "Oh, we already ate," Rachel said casually. "We thought you'd sleep in longer, but hey, feel free to make yourself something." Feel free, like it was a privilege. "No problem," I said, still smiling. "I'll just clean these up first." And I did. I stood at that sink, scrubbing dried pancake batter, while they moved to the living room, their laughter fading into background noise. I thought about all the Father's Days before this one, the ties I'd gotten that I never wore, the cards that felt hollow because I wasn't really their dad, was I? But this was different. This wasn't just forgetting or being thoughtless. This was intentional. They'd specifically chosen a shirt that said, "World's most replaceable dad," and thought, yeah, this is perfect for Caleb. This is exactly how we see him. Replaceable? Not disappointing, not inadequate. Replaceable. Like a broken tool you throw away and buy a new one. As a welder, I knew the difference between things that were meant to last and things that were designed to be disposable. Apparently, in their minds, I fell into the second category. I dried my hands and made a quiet decision. Not a dramatic one, just a simple one. I was done. That night, after everyone had gone to bed, after I'd smiled through dinner and said goodnight like everything was normal, I packed a bag. Just the essentials. clothes, my Lincoln Electric welding gear from the garage, and that last shred of dignity I'd been hoarding. I didn't leave a note or write some long explanation. What would have been the point? I just walked out the front door, got in my truck, and drove. 2 weeks went by before I finally turned my phone back on. 23 missed calls from Rachel, 41 text messages, and then the Facebook post. She'd written this heartfelt plea. "Please, if anyone knows where he is, tell him we just want him home. We love him and miss him so much." Attached was a photo of me from last Christmas, looking happy by the tree. The comments were full of support for her, people praying I'd come back, saying I'd return when I was ready. Not one person knew about that shirt. I ended up at the Crossroads Motel off Highway 9. $55 a night, and for that premium price you got paper-thin walls, a TV with 4 channels, and complimentary cockroaches that scurried across the bathroom floor like they had somewhere important to be. The guy at the front desk didn't even look up when I checked in, just slid me a key attached to a plastic fob with the room number written in Sharpie, and went back to watching what looked like a documentary about UFOs. No questions, no concerned looks, just cold, impersonal, beautiful indifference. Room 12 was exactly what you'd expect. One bed that sagged in the middle, a nightstand with a flickering lamp, a painting of a lighthouse that was somehow both boring and unsettling. The carpet had that specific pattern designed to hide stains. This was my life now. I spent that first week in a fog. I'd wake up, stare at the water-stained ceiling, shuffle to the gas station for coffee that tasted like it had been brewed in a carburetor, and maybe grab a breakfast burrito that was definitely older than it should be. My phone stayed off. When I finally turned it on to check my bank account, because poverty waits for no man's emotional breakdown, that's when I saw it all. The calls, the texts, and that Facebook post that had been up for 5 days with 300 comments. I clicked on Rachel's profile because apparently I hate myself, and there it was, pinned to the top like a missing person poster. The photo she'd used was from last Christmas. I'm wearing the ugly sweater she bought me, holding Noah on my shoulders, smiling like I just won the lottery. I looked happy in that photo. I looked like I belonged somewhere. The comment section was exactly what you'd expect. Sandra from Rachel's yoga class. "Praying for you, hun. He'll come back when he's ready." Kevin from Riverside Fabrication. "Bro, wherever you are, just know we're thinking about you." Rachel's sister, Brooke, who never liked me anyway. "Some people just can't handle commitment. Stay strong, sis." Not one of them knew the truth. Not one person in that comment section had any clue that Rachel had given me that shirt, that Madison had filmed my humiliation like it was content for her TikTok, that I'd spent Father's Day scrubbing their dirty dishes while they laughed. But here's what really got me. The thing that made me actually laugh out loud in that depressing motel room. She'd said, "The kids are devastated." The same kids who'd thought world's most replaceable dad was comedy gold. The same kids who'd gone about their day after I left like nothing happened. About 3 weeks into living at the Crossroads, I looked at myself in the bathroom mirror and didn't recognize the guy staring back. My hair was too long in an "I've given up" way. My beard had gone from rugged to might be hiding small animals in there, and I was wearing the same shirt for the 4th day straight. "This is pathetic, Caleb," I said to my reflection. So I did something radical. I took a shower, actually used soap everywhere, and dug through my bag for my least wrinkled shirt. Then I walked to Eddie's barbershop 3 blocks away, an old-school place with a spinning pole outside. Eddie himself was probably 70 with forearms like Popeye. He didn't ask why I looked like I'd been living under a bridge, just sat me down and got to work. 20 minutes later, I looked human again. Next stop was Riverside Fabrication, the metal shop where I'd worked before everything went sideways. I walked into the office and found my old supervisor, Tommy Briggs, who had kind eyes and a no-nonsense attitude. "Caleb, where the hell have you been? Your wife called looking for you." "Long story. You guys still need welders?" He looked me up and down. "You sober? You clean? You remember which end of a Miller TIG torch gets hot?" "All of the above." "When can you start?" "Right now, if you want." Just like that, I had my job back, $15 an hour plus overtime opportunities. But more than that, it was purpose. It was identity. At Riverside Fabrication, I wasn't Rachel's husband or Madison and Noah's stepdad. I was Caleb, the guy who could lay down a perfect bead on structural steel. Caleb, who could read blueprints like sheet music. The work felt good, clean, honest. When you weld two pieces of metal together properly, they become one piece, stronger than either was alone. It's the opposite of being replaceable. It's about making connections that last forever. Every joint I welded was a small act of permanence in a world where I'd been told I was disposable. That's where I reconnected with Eddie Walsh, a retired welder who still hung around the shop, dispensing wisdom and occasionally helping with complex jobs. He was about 65, built like he could still haul steel beams without breaking a sweat. "You know your way around a torch," he said the first day back, watching me work on a fabrication project. "Most guys your age can barely strike an arc without setting themselves on fire. Started young, my dad taught me." Eddie watched me work, nodded approvingly, and when I finished the seam, he said, "Clean work, that's rare these days." That was the beginning of what I'd call a mentorship. Eddie started timing his visits for when I was working. We'd talk about welding techniques, metallurgy, eventually life. It was Eddie who first said something I'd been thinking, but couldn't put into words. We were in the break room, and he was telling me about his son's wedding. "Best day of my life," he said, getting to walk him down the aisle, being his dad. I must have made a face because he stopped and looked at me. "What's that look?" "Nothing, just sounds nice." "But, nothing? It's nice. Family stuff is nice." Eddie wasn't having it. He crossed his arms. "Listen, son, I've been welding for 40 years. I've seen a lot of apprentices come and go. Most of them are kids who think welding is just pointing a torch at metal, but you're different. You understand the craft, you respect the process, and you look like someone used your heart for target practice." I opened my mouth to protest, but he held up a hand. "I'm not asking for your life story, but I am going to tell you something that took me way too long to learn. People who laugh at you aren't people who love you. They're just people who need an audience for their cruelty." I stood there surrounded by steel beams and fabrication equipment, which felt deeply symbolic, and something in my chest cracked open. "They gave me a shirt for Father's Day," I said. It said, "World's Most Replaceable Dad." Eddie didn't laugh or look shocked, just nodded slowly. "And you stuck around after that?" "For a few hours, then I left." "Good, that's good." He grabbed his coffee and started heading back to the shop floor, then paused and turned back. "You know what the thing about being replaceable is, Caleb? It's not a fact about you. It's a failure of their imagination. And if their imagination was so limited they thought you were disposable, then proving them wrong is exactly what you should do." About 3 months in, I did something that seemed crazy at the time. I started a YouTube channel. I know, every middle-aged guy going through a crisis thinks he's going to become a YouTuber. I wasn't delusional enough to think I'd become famous, but I figured it would be a portfolio, at least. Proof that I knew what I was talking about. I called it Steel and Skills because I'm terrible at naming things. My first video was filmed on my phone, propped up against my welding helmet in the shop after hours. It was about different types of welding joints and when to use them. "This is a butt joint," I said, holding up 2 pieces of steel. Named because it's where 2 pieces of metal meet end to end, not because it looks like your uncle's anatomy after Thanksgiving dinner. I posted it at midnight on a Tuesday because I was too nervous to post during normal hours, then turned off my phone and tried to sleep. Next morning, 47 views, 8 likes, 3 comments. "This is actually helpful. Thanks." Subscribed. Finally, someone who doesn't talk like a robot. I made another video about TAG welding aluminum. 53 views, 12 likes. Then one about reading blueprints. 89 views, 15 likes. I was building slowly but steadily. The 4th video was about MIG welding techniques. 120 views. The 5th was a review of different welding gloves. 150 views, 22 likes. By the 10th video, a passionate rant about why you should never buy the cheapest welding equipment at Harbor Freight. I hit my first milestone, 300 views and my first negative comment. "This guy doesn't know what he's talking about. I've been welding for 20 years. I almost deleted the whole channel. Then Eddie saw the comment when I showed him. 20 years and he's still buying garbage equipment, Eddie said. "You hit a nerve. That means you're doing something right." Video 15 was about proper ventilation, welding shops. 400 views. Video 20 was troubleshooting common welding problems. 600 views. I was growing, slowly but consistently. Then video 23 happened. I decided to tell a story while demonstrating how to weld a repair on a cracked bracket. I talked about how welding was like relationships. You need proper preparation, the right heat, and patience to make something that lasts. You can't just slap two pieces of metal together and hope for the best, I said, cleaning the joint with a wire brush. You have to prepare the surface, remove all the contamination, and apply the right amount of heat at the right speed. Skip any of those steps, and your joint fails under pressure. The metaphor wasn't subtle, but it worked. That video got 800 views, 37 likes, and my first real comments section discussion. People started sharing their own stories about relationships that failed because someone didn't put in the preparation work. My subscriber count hit 200, then 400. By month 4, I had 600 subscribers and my videos were averaging 1,000 views each. Companies started emailing me, small ones at first, asking if I'd review their products. They'd send me free stuff and I'd make honest videos. This welding helmet costs $200 and claims to have the clearest auto-darkening lens on the market. That's mostly true, except the sensitivity failed after 3 weeks of regular use. 2 stars. You can do better for less money. The views kept climbing. Video 30 hit 1,500 views. Video 35 broke 2,000. My subscriber count reached 1,000, then 1,500. Companies I'd actually heard of started reaching out with sponsorship offers. Lincoln Electric sent me a new MIG welder to review. Miller offered me their latest TIG torch. Not enough to quit my day job, but enough to move out of the crossroads into an actual apartment. A 1-bedroom place above Murphy's Pub in downtown Riverside Falls that smelled like beer and possibilities. Eddie helped me move, which was easy because I barely had anything. But I had a real bed frame now, a desk for editing videos, a bookshelf that was mostly empty but made me feel like an adult. "Look at you," Eddie said, standing in my new apartment. From motel to apartment, from disaster to minor internet celebrity. What's next? Let's not get ahead of ourselves. I'm serious, Caleb. You've done something here. You took a garbage situation and turned it into something. Most people just stay in the garbage and complain. You climbed out. Standing there in my new apartment, small and smelling like beer, but mine, I couldn't argue. He was right. I had done something. Meanwhile, I'd been thinking about Noah. He was the quiet one who'd looked uncomfortable filming my humiliation, but still did it. He'd never really joined in on the jokes, just existed in the background, like a stagehand in a play he never auditioned for. So about 4 months after I left, I did something I hadn't done in years. I wrote a letter, an actual pen and paper letter, because some things deserve that weight. I sat at my desk with a notepad from the dollar store and started writing. "Hey, bud," it started, because that's what I'd always called him. The letter explained where I went, why I left, and that it wasn't his fault. I told him I'd be at the Riverside Falls Library on Saturday at 3 o'clock, just sitting there, probably reading something boring. If he showed up, great. If he didn't, I understood. That Thursday, I drove to his school and waited in the parking lot until I saw him come out. Headphones in, backpack slung over one shoulder, looking at his phone. Noah. He looked up and his face cycled through about 17 emotions in 3 seconds. "Caleb, what are you doing here?" "I wanted to give you this." I held out the envelope. "I know it's weird, but I didn't have your number and didn't want to contact you through your mom." He took it slowly, turning it over in his hands. "Is everything okay? Mom said you just left without saying anything." "That's true, I did, and I'm sorry for that. You deserve better." Saturday came. I showed up at the library at 2:30 because I'm the kind of person who shows up early to everything. At 3:17, just when I'd accepted he wasn't coming, the door opened and there he was, taller than I remembered, nervous, clutching his backpack. Our eyes met and he said, so quietly I almost missed it, "Dad?" Not Caleb, Dad. We started meeting every other Saturday. Sometimes we talked about serious stuff, how he was doing, what life was like at home. Other times we'd just talk about school, video games, this girl he liked. Those meetings became my anchor, proof that I mattered to someone. Work was going well too. Tommy gave me a raise, 50 cents more an hour, but it felt like winning the lottery. He started giving me more responsibility, training new guys, quality control on critical welds. The YouTube channel kept growing steadily, By month 5, I had 3,000 subscribers and my videos were averaging 4,000 views each. Ad revenue plus sponsorships meant I was pulling in about $4,000 a month on top of my welding salary. Rachel made about $45,000 a year in real estate, I'd learned from Noah. My combined income was now higher than hers, and climbing. Then around month 5, Noah mentioned during one of our Saturday meetings that Rachel had been asking about me a lot. "She's been weird about it," he said. "More interested than she should be. She saw one of your YouTube videos, the one about MIG welding aluminum." My gut tightened. "And what did she say?" Noah looked uncomfortable. "She said it was interesting that you had money for video equipment, but apparently didn't have money for the family." The narrative was forming, Caleb the deadbeat who abandoned his family, and was now living it up, making YouTube videos while his poor wife struggled. Never mind that the video equipment was my phone. Never mind that every dollar I'd earned was mine. "Noah, I need you to be honest. Do you think your mom is going to try to come after me for money?" He didn't answer immediately, which was answer enough. "Maybe. She's been talking to Aunt Brooke a lot." Brooke was Rachel's older sister, a corporate lawyer who never liked me. I could see where this was heading, so I did what any reasonable paranoid person would do. I called a buddy from high school who now ran an accounting firm. We met the next day at his office. "You want to protect your assets from your wife," he said. "Soon-to-be ex-wife. And yeah, is that bad? It's smart, especially if you think she's going to come after you." I laid it all out. The YouTube channel making decent money, the growing savings account, the truck I'd bought, the sponsorships. He explained setting up an LLC for my business, separating personal and business finances, establishing documentation for everything. By the end of that meeting, I felt better. Not completely secure, but better. I also hired a lawyer, a woman named Patricia, who specialized in asset protection. "So you left your wife after she gave you a replaceable dad shirt," she said, reviewing my notes. "You've been gone months, haven't filed for divorce, started a successful YouTube channel, and now you think she's coming after you for money. When you say it like that, it sounds like a weird country song." Patricia smiled. "Here's my advice. File for divorce now. Don't wait for her. You file first, you control the narrative, and document everything. Every dollar you earn, where it comes from, where it goes. Keep it separate from anything joint." She leaned forward. "And most importantly, you thrive. You succeed so loudly that when people look at the situation, they don't see a man who abandoned his family. They see a man who left a toxic situation and built something better." I liked Patricia. Then one night, while scrolling Facebook on my fake account, because I'm apparently that petty, I saw a post from Rachel. Big announcement with a custom graphic. "Graduation celebration. Join us in celebrating Madison's achievement. Saturday, June 15th, 2 to 6 p.m. Open house. All are welcome." All are welcome. That phrase got me. I wondered if all included the husband she'd humiliated and reported missing. Probably not, but technically she'd said all were welcome. And I'm a big believer in taking people at their word. Eddie thought going was a terrible idea. "You're going to do what now?" "I'm going to the party, just to make an appearance. Say congratulations. Be civil." "Caleb, buddy, that's a terrible idea." "Probably, but I'm doing it anyway." Saturday arrived with perfect weather. I put on my best jeans, a button-up I'd actually ironed, and boots I'd polished until they looked almost new. I looked in the mirror and barely recognized the confident guy staring back. I drove to the house I used to call home. Same brick exterior, same driveway I'd sealed last summer. I could hear music, people laughing. For a second, I almost turned around. But then I remembered the shirt, Rachel's Facebook post. Every joke at my expense. I walked up the driveway like I owned the place, because legally, I still half owned it. The party stopped. Not immediately, but like someone slowly turned down the volume. Conversations faltered. Someone dropped a cup. Rachel was near the drinks table, wine glass halfway to her lips, frozen. Her face went through surprise, confusion, anger, panic, landing on something that looked like she'd bitten into a lemon. Madison was by the cake table, wearing a blue dress and graduation cap. She went pale, but Noah was sitting at a picnic table with friends, and when he saw me, his whole face lit up. He stood and started walking toward me. "Caleb," Rachel's voice cut through the silence, "what are you doing here?" I smiled, calm and easy. "Just dropping by to say congratulations. It is an open house, right?" All are welcome. I could see her brain working, trying to figure out how to handle this without making a scene. You can't just show up here. Actually, I can. I'm still legally half owner of this property, and you did post that all were welcome. But don't worry, I'm not staying long. Noah reached me and wrapped me in a hug right there in front of everyone. I'm glad you came, he said. Me too, bud. I turned to Madison, who was standing by the cake like a deer in headlights. I pulled a small wrapped box from my pocket. Congratulations on graduating. I know things are complicated, but I did help raise you for 3 years. That has to count for something. She took it slowly, unwrapping it to reveal a compact mirror. What's this for? I looked her right in the eyes. Self-reflection, try it sometime. You might learn something about how your actions affect other people. The crowd made this collective gasp. Rachel's face went from pale to red. How dare you? How dare I what? Show up and give your daughter a graduation gift? Be civil? Exist? I turned to face her fully. You posted on Facebook that I was missing. You told everyone I abandoned my family, but the truth is, I left because staying was slowly killing me. And the fact that you never once considered that maybe giving someone a replaceable dad shirt might be hurtful, that says everything about why I left. It was a joke. Jokes are supposed to be funny, Rachel. That was just cruelty dressed up as humor. People were pulling out phones now. I didn't come here to cause a scene, but I wasn't going to back down either. I came to say congratulations to Madison, to show Noah I'm still here for him, and to prove to myself that I'm not afraid of you anymore. Mission accomplished. I started walking toward the gate, then stopped. Oh, and, Rachel, you might want to think twice before you try to come after me for money. My lawyer says you don't have a case, but feel free to try. I've got time, documentation, and a pretty good income these days. Do you? I got in my truck and drove away, smiling the entire way home. The fallout was swift and beautiful. By Sunday morning, my phone was blowing up with messages of support. Noah had texted, "That was the most badass thing I've ever seen. Mom's been pacing all night." Random people from the party had gotten my number somehow, wanting to tell me they'd always thought Rachel was fake and congratulating me for standing up for myself. That Sunday evening, after letting the emotions settle, I did what I do best, turn my life into content. I sat at my desk, set up my phone, and recorded what would become my most viewed video ever. Hey everyone, Caleb here from Steel and Skills. Today we're not talking about welding or fabrication. Today we're talking about the day my family gave me a shirt that said, "World's Most Replaceable Dad." I told the whole story, honestly, without naming names or showing faces. The shirt, the laughter, the leaving, the rebuilding. At the end, I held up the actual shirt. This shirt sits in my closet now, not because I'm ashamed of it, but because it reminds me that when people label you as replaceable, they're telling you about their limitations, not your worth. They expected me to stay and keep taking it. I disappointed them by choosing myself instead. I titled it, "World's Most Replaceable Dad, the Day My Family Set Me Free." The response was immediate. Within 6 hours, the video had 10,000 views. By Monday morning, it had hit 50,000. By Tuesday, 100,000. Comments were pouring in from men sharing similar stories, thanking me for speaking up, for showing them it was possible to walk away and rebuild. The video went viral in the truest sense. 600,000 views in the first week. Major outlets picked it up. I did interviews, always keeping it classy, never naming names or locations. My subscriber count exploded from 3,000 to 25,000 almost overnight. 2 weeks later, I got an email from Madison. "I'm sorry, I watched your video. I didn't understand before what we did to you. I'm sorry for the shirt, for laughing, for not seeing what it was doing to you. You weren't replaceable. We were just too selfish to see your worth. I don't expect you to forgive me or want anything to do with me, but you deserve to know that I finally get it. I'm working on being better. I hope you're doing well. You seem happy in your videos. I'm glad." It wasn't a complete fix, but it was honest. And that was more than I'd gotten while living there. I wrote back thanking her and saying the offer for coffee was open if she ever wanted to talk. She never took me up on it, but knowing she'd reached out and grown enough to recognize what happened was enough. The divorce. Papers went through without contest. Rachel realized fighting would make her look worse, especially after my video gained national attention. Sometimes the court of public opinion is more powerful than actual court. Now, that shirt hangs in my closet. People ask why I keep it if it reminds me of bad times. But it doesn't remind me of bad times. It reminds me that I survived, that I took the worst gift someone could give me and turned it into motivation. Every morning when I get dressed for work, I see that shirt hanging there, and every morning I smile. They thought that shirt would define me. They were right, just not how they intended. My wife wanted to know why I changed. I told her the truth. You did too, when you gave away what was mine, my respect, my dignity, my place in my own home. She gave those things away like they were worthless. Turns out they were worth everything. I was the world's most replaceable dad to them. But to myself, I was finally irreplaceable, and that's the only opinion that really matters.